Hello and welcome to another episode of the Citizens of Lorcana podcast, a podcast where we invite you to be part of their world. This week we are talking with Katie of the Lorekeepers Inn. So without further ado, let's jump into the episode. Hey everyone, welcome to another week. Last week we took the time to catch up with some listener questions, and this week we are super excited to have on our guest, Katie from Lorekeeper Inn. You might remember her formerly of Hakuna Lorcana. She has her own podcast and is definitely a rising star, and we are super excited to have her on. She's a builder of communities and a Disney park aficionado. And so without further ado, Katie, welcome to the Citizens of Lorcana podcast. How are you?
Oh, I'm so good. I'm so excited. That's it. I'm just excited to be here.
Yay. We're excited to have you. I mean, I think James can agree with this. This was something that, like, you and I, Katie, were talking about on the air, before we got on here, that we've been watching the community, James and I, basically since the beginning. And every so often, you see somebody who has like a bright star that just like shoots up. And I feel like you with Hakuna Lorcana and now with your Lorekeepers Inn is definitely, your star shooting bright. So we are super excited to have you on here and talk all things Disney and Lorcana.
Well, thank you so much. Because you guys are a podcast that has been on my phone, on my little app for so long. And now I'm in the icon. I'm in the computer. So I really appreciate those kind words, because the community, I think, is the nurturing, the fertilizer that you grow out of, is because everyone's just so nice. And that's been so great.
So let's talk about the elephant in the room, or the bow in the room. I was instructed that I because Katie had ears and Jared always has ears, that I had to have ears, and I texted my wife in the other room and I said, bring me some ears real quick, and this is what I get.
I think peer pressure is not always bad. Sometimes you can be peer pressure to do like community service, and other times you get peer pressure to do ears. So
yeah, so I will be wearing these for as long as I can stand them.
Yeah, that's smart. You got to tap out.
I've never stated this, but for those who are listening, I have Oswald ears on, and so I'm wearing my Oswald ears until we get Oswald in Lorcana. So it might be years, it might be weeks, it might be months. Who knows? But I feel it in my bones that we're going to get an Oswald at some point
within the next 10 years.
Yeah, I take the under on that.
Yeah. I think that's a good one. But
and for those who are not watching, I am wearing a classy set of Minnie Mouse ears with the red bow and the black ears,
and sparkly. That's the most important. Yeah, that's the most important detail. Yeah. I have a vintage 2005 Stitch ears that you won't see these in the park, because although Stitch is having quite a resurgence, something's happening like in the parks everywhere. Stitch is having a moment, so good for him.
I attribute that to B squared.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, he's powerful. He's a tastemaker. He's like bucket hats, and people are like, well, I have to get a bucket hat, Stitch. Yeah, I mean, they listen.
All right. So speaking of parks, that's one of the three things that we know that you're known for. Disney parks. You love Disney parks. You love Lorcana, and you love building Lorcana community. So let's start with the first two. In your dream world, how do you think Disney could better integrate Lorcana into the theme parks?
Well, I think it's getting there in the sense that I was in the park a few days ago. It was last Friday. Yeah, my goodness. And you can buy Lorcana in the park. So step one, done. So we've got that. Step two is, I think it would be more conducive to Disneyland than Disney World, because I think Disneyland is a more hangouty kind of park. But creating spaces where it's encouraged to hang out, maybe even have loaner decks, kind of like a coffee shop. I think that would be so cool. I think it'd be fun to do things like in Epcot, they'll do scavenger hunts where it's like a honor system scavenger hunt where you find little things. So it'd be fun to be like a glimmer hunt or a lore hunt, and you have to find lore symbols, and at the end you get a promo card. So far it's not exclusive, because I know that's a big fear, is you never want to have a pay to play where it's only some people can have this. It'd be something where they print them ad nauseum, because anything limited in the parks can be horrifying to try to get a hold of. Yes. But yeah, just making something where people like Lorcana and people like souvenirs. And man, if you could have a Lorcana souvenir where you I got a Big Thunder Mountain because I did the July scavenger hunt, I just think that'd be cool. It's something special. And So yeah, that would be my two things: is places to hang out and just enjoy it for people that are locals, and then also little tie-ins where people get to engage with the game in a way they haven't before.
So I know that they couldn't. They don't like people to just sit at tables for a long time.
Yeah.
But wouldn't it be cool if, like, one of those less used tables, maybe they painted like a permanent Lorcana like playmat on there for like the zones,
It'd be
so
so
people
cool.
could just sit down and play without having to bring a playmat?
Yeah. I mean, you're thinking the right things. And I think what they could do is Baseline Tap House in Hollywood Studios. There's certain places that really people do hang out and it's more encouraged. Starbucks locations. So kind of like places like that where they're not trying to turn tables. They really are saying just hang out here. Oh, it'd be so nice. It'd be so nice to play a game with strangers. Well, that sounds scary, but nice strangers.
I'm not going to sit here and pretend to know the legal aspects of what goes on with the Disney theme parks and Ravensburger, but to me it seems like a match made in heaven. I mean, Lorcana is a hot selling item. I mean, people could walk through the parks, they see the starter decks, they're like, oh my gosh, let's give this a try. They try it out, they want to buy more packs. I mean, I could see this really catapulting Lorcana to the next level.
Yeah.
If it was something that they ever did. But again, I'm sure there's a whole legal stuff behind it. I don't know, but to me it seems like a no-brainer.
I know, isn't that fun? It's always like, I'm sure there's laws, but I'm not paid to know about the laws. I'm here to have fun.
But they had Lorcana on that one Disney cruise.
Yeah. And I went on a family Disney cruise after Into the Inklands came out, and I packed all my packs in my suitcase and I did a family sealed. So I was like,
Nice.
International waters, there are no laws, so you can do anything. I think that's how it works.
So did you get 7 packs and everyone else got 5?
Oh no, everybody got the packs. I just said you have to give them back at the end. So I was like, I'm not generous. But no one pulled it enchanted, so it didn't get messy. So that was the good news.
So was your family into Lorcana beforehand, or did you have to teach them like how to play, how to draft, all that stuff?
There's only one, so we have different factions. We have my sister and her daughter play. My dad plays, and then my brother, he was a Magic player, so he was pretty easy to get into it. So I only had to teach my brother and his kids. So it's like
That's not bad.
yeah. If there's like an up, what is it, in like pyramid schemes, my upline or downstream, I've got them. I'm doing good at recruiting. So
Have you ever thought about going into stand-up comedy?
no, and no. Well, no, actually, no. I did do one stand-up set, and then I was like, and that's it, because it's stressful.
I can imagine. Okay, so let's bring this back on track here. I asked each of us prior to the show to come up with a theme park location, item, character, and action. Just because we are on the topic of theme parks, and we'll talk more about all this stuff. But I thought this would just be fun if we had a magic wand. And we could be like, bibbidi bobbidi boo, I have new Lorcana cards for you. And they're based on Disney theme parks. What would they be? So, Katie, why don't you kick us off with what location would you bring to Lorcana?
So this one, this is keeping in mind that I'm imagining like there's going to be more, because this card is going to have synergy, and it's going to have synergy with a trio of birds. And that is the Tiki Room. I think would be a wonderful location, and like all your birds get whatever magical powers when they're there, and you can have Jose and the other ones. I obviously I don't know all the trivia. Yeah, they have names. I know.
There's our 500-point question. What are the other 2 birds' names?
All right, let me change this real quick.
Yeah, right. But I think the Tiki Room could be fun. It could be amber, and it could even be a vanilla location. I just think the art. I love the mid-century Polynesian art that they have in the Tiki Room. So I think that would be just a primo location.
Tiki Room would be awesome. James, what about you?
So I didn't think too much like into colors or costs or anything. I just wanted to come up with a place and an ability. So my location is the Court of Angels in Disneyland, which is no longer accessible to us common folk. It is now the waiting area for Club 33. But it was awesome when it was open, and it was a beautiful spot. But my idea, because of how peaceful it was there was the ability would be no actions have an effect on characters while here.
Oh, I like that. That's too nice. Have you been there? Like, I guess you've been before. They closed it. But have you been to Club 33? That's my.
I have just one time.
Oh, that's my manifestation. I like even
Yeah.
every time I start a new job, I'm like someone in this company, someone. Like I'll say I'll say the dream to anyone, but one day.
Yeah, it was like 6 years ago on my wife's birthday.
Wow. That's like magic on magic.
Yeah.
So
Well, I mean, you may never go, but they are making a movie based on Club 33. So
Club 33 now available on Disney Plus. So
okay, so my location, this is tough for me because I really wanted to do something from Pirates of the Caribbean, but Blue Bayou, I don't know why. That just sticks in my heart. I love that location. I just love the ambiance there. It would probably be an Emerald or Sapphire. I'm not sure what action would have. Like I didn't with James, I didn't think too hard into that, but I would love to see the Blue Bayou in Lorcana. And I'm sure somebody can come up with a great effect for ability.
Sometimes when I'm just thinking to myself, I think like where in Disney World where I want to take a nap, Disneyland and Disney World, like where would be like a best place? And like there's a few places that come to mind, but that's one where I'm like, ooh, that'd be so nice if you get to go on that little cabin and just like rest there.
Yes, I could sit there all day.
Yeah.
That or Walt's apartment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay. Let's move on to items. Okay. I'll start with my item this time. You guys are going to laugh at me, but whenever I go to Disneyland, I have to get a turkey leg. So that would be my item. It would be a turkey leg, and it would probably buff my characters with their strength.
That was actually the second thing I thought of to do, and I didn't pick it.
I'm scared
I'm
because
glad.
you're if we're doing hot or cold, you're getting very hot to my item. So I'm excited to hear James's. Because
Is it the churro?
No. Okay.
That was my first choice, and I went with my third because I thought they may be too common of a thing. So I'm like, I'm going to go with my third. So you go first in case we're doing something similar here.
I went the Dole Whip.
Oh, nice.
Okay. Did you go with Dole Whip?
No, I didn't.
Okay. Yeah. Because
I went away from food.
Yeah, I did Dole Whip because I like it and it's so perfect. Although I like citrus swirl more, but Dole Whip I think is more iconic. It's very complicated, but I think you could remove. I just looked up the price. 6.5 damage from any character because that is currently $6.50.
How do you round up or down?
I guess I say up. You know, I'm generous.
Yeah. Remove 7.
So yeah, that's quite a lot. It's a really good Dole Whip. So maybe
it works good with Beast Selfless Protector, right?
Yeah,
right?
That's chaotic. Yeah, that the Beast is like, give me a Dole Whip.
That Chernabog, Night Goofy. That's about it.
Yeah.
Oh, the new Kristoff.
Yeah. So yeah, there's lots of places for the Dole Whip.
There you go.
All right. So we know you're not food. So
not food. Mine is the Disneyland welcome sign that is over the arch as you enter into Main Street. And I went with just, how magical it is going through there. And, if you sit and stop and read it before you go in, it really does hit you. And so the ability I thought of was exert to reduce a singing cost by 2.
Oh, I love that.
So you can, there's more joy in your heart and you're more willing to sing. So you can sing bigger and greater.
It's true. There's this feeling when you go under that train station where I do feel like my soul weighs a little bit less. Like everything feels a little bit better when you go under that sign. You're like, ooh. So
I want to go to Disneyland now.
I know. I landed in LA and I went to my hotel, dropped off my stuff and got to Disneyland by 10:30 and was just like, because it's just, you gotta
awesome.
do it.
All right. Characters. James, why don't you kick us off with your character?
So I was apparently in a singing mood because my character is the Dapper Dans.
Oh.
And the ability would be can sing a song from your discard.
That's good. Yeah.
Because they sing all of the old timey hits.
Ah, James,
right?
You're good at this.
I know. Ravensburger, you're gonna get called tomorrow. They'll be like, we heard.
Is this on play or is this like you can exert them to sing?
You exert them to sing just like you would normally sing. You exert them to sing and you just pull any song that they could normally sing from the discard.
Now, would you put the song back in your pile after they sing it, or could they just sing it
everything acts the same? You have to discard it when you're done. It basically is just seeing the card and discard and being able to sing it. It doesn't go anywhere else. It just you get the ability again.
Wow.
No matter. So it's like Ursula, but delayed because you get to do it again.
It could be cool to have the Dapper Dans where you have all 4. Like I've seen it where they make like Mickey, Goofy, like they make the characters be them. And if you get all 4 in play, you can sing any song for free. That could be fun. Like some kind of like the Dapper Dan deck. Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so my character, as much as I would love to say Oswald, I was specifically thinking of characters and locations and stuff that are unique to Disney. So I have to go. I hope I'm not stealing yours, Katie. I have to go with the Hatbox Ghost.
Okay, you didn't, but that's an excellent one.
Yes, it is.
Haunted Mansion, and I don't know what his ability would be, but he'd certainly be evasive, and he'd probably be pretty buff too. So I'm just saying that's one nasty looking ghost.
Ping damage. He goes because his head goes other places.
Oh,
so can the damage.
Yeah,
and he's definitely going to be an emerald.
Yeah.
Yes.
And he could have like a persistent ability where he like readies because that character has he keeps coming, like he's a character that keeps on going where like it didn't work and they're like, no, we want him in the park. So
awesome. What have you got?
Well, so mine is so I have this idea that, one thing they could do if they didn't want to have to do like a whole separate parks thing is they could reskin cards that already exist and make them tied to the park. So you might say, how? What's an example of that? Great question. So Madam Mim Purple Dragon could be reskinned as Figment. And then it's the same card, but it's Figment. And I just want Figment. Honestly, that's as far as I got, and he is a purple dragon. So
you and Adara would be friends. She loves Figment as well.
I love him because I don't love him. And isn't that something? Like, it's so interesting that like I love characters that Disney creates and they just exist in these weird little bubbles. I think that's so wonderful. Niche characters.
I love it. Okay. For our last group here, we have actions. And I guess, Katie, you started first on locations. Let's have you start on your action.
All right. So this one, it's no longer something that's in the parks today, but I would have an action called Fast Pass where your character can quest the same turn they're playing. And or do anything. Like it's basically Super Rush where they can attack, they can quest, they can sing. They got a Fast Pass.
Immediately dry.
Yeah. So,
nice.
But Fast Pass is gone now. Who knows? They just change it again. It's like Genie Plus. Now it's like Lightning Lane something.
Lightning Lane, yeah. What about you, James?
Okay, mine is going to be a song because again, apparently I had that on the brain. It is the Grim Grinning Ghosts.
Yeah.
You got to have that, right?
Yeah.
So my idea for what it would do is all opposing characters get -3 willpower until the start of your next turn because obviously everybody is scared and that reduces willpower.
It's great. Yeah. I'm already seeing the art. You could have like a scared Donald.
Yep. So
my action, Katie and I, we were on the same wavelength here, but I was thinking the opposite side. I was thinking standby line and chosen opposing character cannot ready until the start of their next turn.
That's a bummer. But yeah.
I mean, Ursula, the Illuminator's Quest, Ursula kind of has a card like that where she exerts all the cards and they can't ready up till your next turn.
Yeah.
It's fair. You have PTSD from that, so you're like, I'm going to inflict it on others, right?
Yeah, right. And I think anybody who's been once you've been in Fast Pass lines, then it's like, well, no, I can't do standby.
I know, right?
Yeah.
We got so spoiled as season pass holders. We're like, man, that line is 20 minutes. That's too long.
I know.
I
know. Well, yeah, and then you see like some people are like, I waited 3 hours for Navi River Adventure. You're like, oh wow.
What? I don't know what that's like because I've never been to Disney World.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
Okay.
I'm a SoCal boy, so
that's okay.
I've been to Disneyland like hundreds of times, but never Disney World.
Well, as we wrap the segment up, dear listeners, if you have any fun ideas that you think would make for a good location, item, character, or action from the theme parks, drop in the YouTube comments below. I think this was really fun, and I'm curious to see what people would come up with.
So one of the ones you mentioned was a reskin of an existing card. And so I want to know what your ideas or your thoughts are about park exclusives. But now we know, because Ryan Miller has said it and they've reiterated it, that they are not going to make mechanically unique promo cards for Lorcana.
Mhm.
But alternate arts are fair game, as we've already seen, like the Villainous promo that's going into the Villainous set. What are your thoughts on park exclusives?
I mean, I think as somebody who has been on vacation and has gone from gift store to gift store looking for this one thing and you see someone who's holding like 40 of them, I think I am coming from the more side of like, I want there to be park exclusives, but I don't want it to be exclusive. Like I want once you get in the park, it's that's it. Like all you have to do is just get to the park and now you get it kind of thing.
Exclusive, but not limited.
Yes. Yeah. Because I think Lorcana already has like that chase of like sometimes. I mean, I can't imagine anyone in Ravensburger thought that the set championship cards would be worth as much as they are. So I can't imagine if like, oh, this Disney World card that's only on the certain day and the certain. I mean, gosh, that would be scary. Not scary.
Yes.
I don't know. I mean, there's something to be said. Collectors are valid people, so I'm not going to say like things that are worth a lot of money are inherently evil, but I personally would like to see something where, yeah, that it's really it's like you said, if you're in the park, you qualify, and they would only run out due to some catastrophic error in ordering. And yeah, it would be. I think the best thing would be alternate art, because then, like you said, nobody is missing out. Nobody feels like, oh, well, this person. Only these people, that live on the coast can get it. I think alternate art is like the future of Ravensburger, because I think people like pretty things, and so if we could have more pretty things, that would be very nice.
And if they were going to do like photo versions, because obviously things in the parks exist in real life, then we could get things like Dragonfire would be the phantasmic dragon breathing actual fire.
Well, what about concept art? I see Jared's shaking his head for those who cannot see. Would you be okay with like concept art? Because Imagineers do like all the schematics. That could be fun.
I would love concept art, but real life photos, that's just not the aesthetic of Lorcana. Like, that would feel like somebody went online and found a card maker site and made like cheap knockoff. I'm sorry, James. I'm not down for this idea,
I'm
but
just saying.
I am down for the idea of alternate art versions in the
Well,
park.
then how about drawn version of the
Yeah, that's fine.
Phantasmic Dragon?
That's
I mean,
fine.
I know it's
I love
just
it.
Maleficent, but if you draw it in the style of the animatronic,
Yeah, and then you could have Maleficent on fire as you shift into Maleficent, catastrophic Maleficent, which has
I
happened
wasn't going
twice.
to mention that.
Well, it's happened twice. I mean, okay. It's like if I had a nickel for every time it's happened, I've had 2 nickels, but it's weird it happened twice, right?
Right? Yeah.
So because but anyway, yeah, I'm with you on. Oh gosh, having like a Maleficent monstrous dragon, but it is like the phantasmic art, the poster that's outside.
Yeah.
I mean,
That'd be pretty cool.
I just have to say I'm all in on the alternate art park promos. And of course, I'm a little biased because I do live close enough that I could probably sneak over and snag one. But like Katie said, I don't want it to be a limited thing. I feel like maybe they'd have like one of card per set. And like if you come during that 3-month period, then you could get that. Like if you come during that 3-month period and you buy a pack, I don't know what the requirements would be, then you would get access to that. I think that's pretty reasonable.
Like print like 5 cards or 6 cards, put them in a pack, and just like have boxes of those packs selling for $5 a pack.
Yeah.
Or $10 a pack because it's Disney, whatever. It doesn't really matter. People will buy it. It's just make something where it's like the only thing out there, or it's any Lorcana purchase, you get the promo, and they just print millions of them or whatever number makes it work.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I think, I will say, behind you made me think of something. Pins, please. We need more pins, because it's crazy that you can go into pin traders and there's no Lorcana pins. Like that is something that the synergy is right there. It's right in front of us. So they could have something where you get like a pin set and it's got all 5 inks. I just got rid of Sapphire because I don't like it. All 6 inks.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
Get out of here. Okay,
Yeah.
I have a love-hate relationship with Sapphire too, but at the end of the day,
it's too many cards.
This is my ink here, okay?
Yeah, I know it's a punishing one, but I think that could be fun. Like, yeah, you buy like a pin set, and then inside is one of 5 promos or something.
I feel like the only thing that we have to wait on for something like that is just time. I think
Yeah.
it's something that's going to happen. It's just we have to wait for Lorcana to build.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it makes sense. I mean, I was telling Jared that I'm doing an episode that releases tomorrow about Sorcerers of the Magic Kingdom. And so you're an East Coaster, but out on the West Coast, they had this interactive trading card game that was in the park for about 9 years. And so like there's an appetite there, and there's people would do it. And they even had exclusive cards where if you went to a party,
Yeah.
like a Christmas party, you'd get a card.
Halloween
So
party.
yeah, and so I mean, it was so nice to have something tangible and that you can bring home and be like, this is my Disney vacation, and it's my Lorcana card, and it's all happy, it's all together.
You're muted.
I didn't realize that this was a playable game. Like I thought it was just like cards that you used at the park to interact with the different elements around there.
No, it is playable. I mean, you're right. It was really niche. In the episode, I kind of talked about how like that went too far because that was a game you could only enjoy in the park, and it's also, you pay a non-zero amount of money to get into the park. So it was kind of weird. It was kind of cannibalizing the time in a park, being like, hey, do you want to play this game or do you want to go to Disney World? And so
I loved it. I loved it when I played it. Like
It's
I
very
look
cool.
forward to going to the firehouse and getting that pack of cards. And then I made my wife go and get a pack of cards.
Yeah. And that was, that shows that it works. Like as far as like a bucket of cards, everybody that went in, you use your park ticket, it's tied to it. So you can't get more than one pack of cards. And so you would go there and watch a little video and get your pack of cards. And that was it. And so it works. It's doable. They've done it. The technology's there.
We can do it again. Okay, let's switch gears here and talk about content creation. So you were part of the Hakuna Lorcana team, which I loved your episodes. And, I'm a little concerned about Disney Jeopardy tonight because you guys had some pretty tough trivia on there. So you might be our most qualified guest yet. So anyway, which again, like I said, was a super bright star in the Lorcana content creation world. Now you host the Lorekeepers Inn. So my first question to you, what got you into content creation? And just tell us, take us on the journey that went from Katie getting into Lorcana and being like, you know what, I want to make this podcast, to being where you are now.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been on the periphery of wanting to make stuff. I have a lot to say to anyone that will listen, unfortunately or fortunately. So I had a few times, I had made an Instagram account for my dog, and I made a TikTok account called Distry Class, which didn't work. So I had I put my feet in things, but it's hard, as you guys can attest to. Making content seems easy until you start to do it, and then you're like, wow, you have to learn a lot of things very fast. And it doesn't just accidentally happen. So as far as getting into the Lorcana content creation space, I mean, I credit a lot. Caleb, who was on Lorcana, encouraged to start the show. So we started that together. So now that show's over, but I still have so much to say. So it's just something where I personally, the content creation is because I think it's part recruitment, part me just talking about what I like. I think that we say that the Lorcana is popular, and it is, but I think there's just this untapped market of people that would be fans that just don't know about it yet. And so I'm kind of, in that middle of, I'm trying to get more park content creators to be like, look, learn how to play, look at this, because I mean, it's hard because there's all these things to navigate right now as content creator. But I just think people who like Disney love to interact with Disney, and Lorcana has touched this sweet spot where you can interact with Disney no matter where you are in the United States, which is very exciting. You don't have to go to Florida. You don't have to go to California. I can be in Colorado and I have a Disney experience. And so I think that's a really cool thing to have, and creating their content then just makes that even bigger for me. I can have that experience.
That's a really beautiful sentiment. I can go to my local game store and have a Disney experience. That is so true.
Yeah, it's hard because that magic, you sometimes people ache for it. I think they call it like the Disney blues. Like when you get home from vacation, you're like, oh, and it's nice to have a little outlet where you get to hang out with other people like you that will wear weird things on their heads and have themed shirts and laugh at funny, weird little jokes, and they're all happy to be together. So
You're not wrong though. Like as a kid and even as an adult, I would love going to the Disney store just because it felt like a little piece of the Magic Kingdom in my
mhm.
backyard. And when they got rid of, most of the Disney stores, that was such a huge blow. And now they have the like store within a store in Target. So, I go check it out. It's not the same, but it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, James, it's a little kind of.
I know. I mean, gosh, I think you guys could attest to just going to the mall exclusively because you're like, I just want to go to the Disney store. I want to see what they have. So,
Yep. So we're going to circle back around. With the very beginning, we said there's three things, and
mm,
the third thing that we didn't talk about was community. So let's talk about wanting to build a community. And so we did a whole episode long ago about before the game came out about what it's like to and what we need to do to build a community. So why don't you tell us about how you are building yours?
yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is making sure any hobby, I think naturally when you have a hobby, you kind of get protective of it. And Lorcana has so many avenues to enjoy it. And when I talk about avenues, I'm thinking like, you have your collectors that are like, I like collecting enchanteds. That's what I'm here for. And then you have people who are like, I only want to play tier 1 decks and they know the meta and they know all the terms. There's some people who are like, I don't like competitive players. I only like tabletop game or kitchen table games. And so I think the biggest thing for me is building a community where these things you don't have to pick. Like all those things can exist in the same room. There isn't a right or a wrong way to enjoy Lorcana, in my opinion. So kind of just making sure to actively and use my platform, however small it might be, to say, hey, you're valid forever you want to enjoy it. Like I've actively, like during set championships, I've made sure to say, if you went to a tournament and you didn't like it, maybe you don't like tournaments, and that's okay. You're still a player. Like there's no like right way to be an enjoyer of Lorcana. So I think building that community means, trying the best to kind of like filter out, even for myself, like, yucking someone's yum. Is that the saying that people like to do? Like, so if somebody is out there saying, I like to buy 10 booster boxes, and just resisting the urge to say, well, economically, it makes sense to buy singles. Because I mean, that's just how they enjoy it. They like that. And if somebody wants to build the tier 1 decks, that's how they're having fun. And so I think it's just making space at League, on the internet, wherever that might be, either in person or online, to just kind of be like, I don't know, however you like it's probably the right way. I think the wrong way to enjoy it would be a way where you're actively excluding people, and then you might want to question why you're in that hobby.
I think Ravensburger has a fine needle to thread here because, like you said, there are so many different ways to enjoy the game. But then they throw something like that Stitch Rockstar promo for set championships. And I think a lot of people who are, the tabletop gamers,
Yeah.
the casual players like me, who are like, this would be really cool to have. We went to set championships and just got, curb stomped. and
It's yeah.
and I know, like, get good, but I feel like there's that FOMO that's gonna trigger for people who are collectors or who aren't super competitive, and I don't know where they thread that needle. They talked about having these fan events, which I imagine was where they would thread the needle, but I haven't heard anything about these fan events, but I have to believe that eventually that's going to be where they address the people who aren't super competitive.
Yeah. And I think FOMO is the perfect term for it. Cause I mean, yeah, you see, I mean, gosh, right before we filmed, I did a box opening video and I didn't pull an enchanted. And I'm like, this doesn't even count. So like, even like you can have FOMO for even like the smallest internal things. So I think it's like that. I think that's where it kind of the change starts within like just your own behavior. Kind of reiterating to your friends and family, like, yes, everyone on the internet posted about the Stitch they won, but statistically, most people did not get a Stitch. Statistically, most people went home and sat and went, well, that was kind of a weird way to spend a day. So I think, yeah, just doing reality checks and keeping perspective, which is hard. And I don't know if it's up to Ravensburger to do that. I think as long as they provide avenues and they don't they try to keep things open. I don't think anyone could have imagined Rockstar Stitch would have. I don't think it was intended to be a prestige item. Like, I feel like it was supposed to be something that was more for, your friendly local game store. What are your guys' thoughts on that? Do you think they thought it was going to be a cutthroat $500 card?
So honestly, I don't know if they thought that initially long ago when they were making all of these plans, but after the last year, especially, from D23 on, every instance has up the bar of what they were expecting.
Yeah.
So I think they should have expected something.
Yeah.
But then they're also like, but we sent 4 of these to like 3,000 stores worldwide.
Yeah.
They're everywhere. But like, no, they're not everywhere because you don't have 15,000 fans. You have dozens of thousands of fans. Hundreds of thousands of fans. There's more than 15,000 people who want this.
Yeah. It is hard, right? Because I mean, I think they have, that's been such a hot topic in my local community of like participation prizes. And I am participation prizes #1 fan because at the end of the day, the value of a participation prize evens out in the market. Like at the end of the day, if everybody gets a card, it probably is not going to be a $500 card. But, people like going home with something. So like, I think it'd be nice to have, a hollow Rockstar Stitch that's not the enchanted, it's not a cold foil, but it's like a event card and everybody that shows up to events. So I think kind of like balancing out the fact that there are always going to be people who are like, oh, I'm the best at Magic and Yu-Gi-Oh and Lorcana, and they're just pervasive. And someone like me, I can't beat that. I mean, maybe if I quit my job and like really, but
I mean, think about what they did for the challenges. They created those non-foil versions of the Cinderella and the Rapunzel. Send out a non-foil version. Send out 30 or 40 non-foil versions to every store, along with the 4 foil versions. Yeah. And boom, you've got a participation prize that requires you to do nothing except for print a regular card, which is probably the cheapest thing that they could do.
Yep. Yeah. And they could even like put, a carrot on the stick, say you have to complete your 4 rounds. So that way it encourages them to stay. It encourages them to not give up. And then you're not going home empty handed, because I cannot, as a person who made the top 8 and then went home in the bottom 4 of the top 8, that to get, so it's a bad feeling to like spend all day doing something and then be like, I'm in the top and then go home. So I think, but I mean, gosh, this game's not a year old. So, I mean, I don't want to say anything too negative because I mean, it's in every they take feedback so fast. I'm so with that.
Yeah, I'm willing to give them grace for that reason too. It's a new game. They're new to the TCG space. And like you say, they're very responsive to feedback. And I don't know, like I think in time they're going to hit their groove, and it's just one of those things that comes really easy to us as humans to complain about anything and everything. But sometimes I think we just need to take a step back and just like wait. Like they do respond to feedback, but these things don't happen overnight. So
yeah, and I mean the thing, gosh, to see where it's been in a year, it's a very impressive thing. So and so that community, I think, to kind of go back to that, the community kind of helps keep that perspective. I think this community, as someone that used to play Magic the Gathering, not well, I don't want to be like, I was a top Magic. I wasn't good, but I would go to like Friday Night Magic, and I even went to a Grand Prix, which is kind of like a challenge. It can be hard to enter a space where you look around and you're like, well, no, it looks like me, and whatever that means. So I think it can be good to foster spaces where, when people walk in, you say, hey, what's your name? Are you looking for a match? Like just things like that go so far. And then sharing your experience. Like I'm so inspired by like the Live Laugh Lorcana and Rebecca at the Luminary, because I mean, when you see people succeed and try and be in that space, then it makes someone like me go, well, I can be in that space. And then I hope someone looks at me and say, I can be in that space. And it's like this infinite chain of people saying like, oh, the space is a space for me too. And awesome. So it's positive peer pressure. Again, you might end up with sparkly ears or playing a TCG that might cost you thousands of dollars. So who knows?
Hey, that's me.
Okay.
Yeah, you got both. You got both. So you're peer pressured by both of those, unfortunately.
Okay, so I'm sitting here at home. I'm listening to what you're saying, Katie. Maybe I don't have a fantastic Lorcana community around me, which would be surprising because a lot of places have a healthy community. But let's just say that I don't. I'm feeling super inspired after I'm hearing what you're saying. So, what are your first action steps to growing a super amazing Lorcana community? And I know you were talking about like you can build it online, you can build it in real life, but I'm thinking like if I'm in the middle of nowhere,
Yeah.
but like there's this, I'm in a city of like 50,000. I don't know. But there's not a great local scene around me. What would you do? Like, what's your advice for a person living in that situation?
Well, I mean, I can say I played in a league for about I still am in the league, but I recently started a league, and I think that sounds like intense because I didn't like found it. But I had been talking to a local game store pretty avidly about like, hey, every time I go in there, are you gonna start a league? Are you gonna start a league? So bully your local game store. That's not the answer, but be in contact with your local game store because oftentimes a local game store is owned by a person, and a person's they're not going to I mean, unless they're personally interested in it, they might not have the motivation to start a league. They might not think people care. So it starts with just communicating, which can be scary, but I mean, my favorite thing about local game stores is everybody's there because they like games. And so if you're on the topic of games, you're pretty fair to talk to anybody there about games or maybe comics. So first, just talking to your local game store and getting a feel, be like, hey, have you thought about doing a league? In my case, my local game store, they did have interest in it. And he's like, hey, I finally got approved. And then I said, do you need help running it? And so it's hard because I'm not an extrovert. I don't like making eye contact with people and I don't like so it's hard, but it pays off because at the end of the day, sometimes you do have to be the change, and that is frustrating because it's nicer when things are there and you just walk into it. So yeah, so step one is find a local game store. Step two is talk to them. And if those steps don't pan out, I think the internet is a great place to cast nets and say, maybe there isn't an LGS, but there's libraries, there's coffee stores, there's putting that out and being like, hey, would anybody be interested in meeting? I'll bring my starter decks. I think more people are interested in than you would. I think you'd be surprised. Board games are really popular, and this is just a board game that's you only have to learn the rules once. So I think it's rough. There's rejection. You're probably gonna put out a tweet or something and not get any responses, and that feels bad. I don't think I'll ever get to an age where that doesn't feel bad, but at the same time, I think you'll be surprised, especially at a local game store where people are there because they like games. That's the best. This is a cheat code.
And a lot of times it just takes one other person to get that ball rolling. But yeah, I would agree. Like the local game store, like they want to host stuff like this. So it's just a matter of but like you say, their bandwidth is limited. So like I loved what you did where you found your local game store, you kept asking, is there a league? And then when they said, hey, I got approved, you were like, hey, do you need somebody to help run it? Like that right there, that's how you build a community. And then after that, it's just a matter of like when people come out, making sure, like you said, they feel included, that game nights are fun. I mean,
Yeah.
which it's Lorcana, which it is fun. And then just being consistent.
Yeah. It is hard because I mean none of it will be done automatically. I think everybody has like if you go on Reddit or Twitter, you'll hear about people like my league's dead. I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
So I think it has to be an active commitment, and I think there will be times you show up and there aren't people there, but then thinking like, okay, well, should I do like a theme night and put out the idea, because a lot of people are more eager to do stuff if you do the thinking. That's the hard part, is saying
Yep.
hey, do you guys want to have a princess theme night where we only have princess decks and I'll bring cupcakes? And there's probably at least 3 women in your area that will be like, okay, be happy to show up. So just putting those ideas out there. Know that, I mean, failure happens, but it probably you'll run into somebody that wants to play with you, I would guess.
I love it. Thank you for sharing that.
So we've been talking about our communities, and some people's communities have been online for playing the game. So for those who have never been to a game store, or they're not exactly comfortable, as you mentioned, you're not an extrovert, and there's people who are definitely not comfortable in those kind of places, or don't like necessarily to try new things. What advice would you give to them about participating in real life Lorcana?
I mean, I think the secret sauce there is limited. And the reason I say that is limited is such a good way to show up, and everybody has a task to do. So if you're people listening, limited is going to be things like sealed or draft. So if you already like the game, and so one of the things that was so scary to me when I showed up to my first league is it was just people in a room. And I was like, oh, I didn't expect that. I was like, what do I do? It felt like high school. I was like, what table do I sit at? People seemed like they had friends, and it was brutal for me. It wasn't no one else, no one was doing anything bad. It was just me walking to a room full of people. So to me, I think one of the secret sauces is look at your local league and see if they're having a limited or even a constructed tournament where that you have to bring a constructed deck or a starter deck tournament and go there. And then that way, you have something where there's a task. And when you have a task, then and you're getting matched with people, that the part of knowing who you're going to sit and talk to, that's done. They already did that for you. So that, I think, is a great way to kind of get into a league without having that like nervousness. But I will say that, like I said, people are at the league because I want to play a game. So usually there's someone that runs it and say, hey, I want to play a game. How do I get in? And someone will say, oh yeah, I'll play you, or I'll get you over there. Like I've witnessed that dozens of times where people just say, I want to play a game. And there's someone in the room probably that does. But if you don't want to do that, then yeah, I say go do something where you get matched up to people, and then suddenly you're not a stranger. And then maybe you will feel more comfortable going to those open play nights where it's just anything goes.
I love it. That's perfect. Thank you. So that leads me to the next question. Well, and I'll just say I shared this experience too many times. First time I went to a local game store, it was when I was playing My Hero Academia. And I remember showing up. I was so nervous. I was in the parking lot, and I sat there for like 3 or 4 minutes debating. I was like, do I really want to go inside? Do I really want to do this? I don't know anybody in there. This is going to be so embarrassing. I don't even know how to play the game right. And like, I just like all this self-talk and self-doubt. Then
Yeah.
finally my brain was like, you know what? What's the worst that's going to happen? I'm going to lose 3 hours of my life, and then I'll never come back. But the best thing that could happen is that I actually enjoy it. I meet people that I get along with, and I have something that I can do every week. And so I just told myself that, I'm just going to go this once, and then we'll see how it goes from there. And I mean, obviously here I am. Like, I'm not playing my hero anymore, but I'm playing Lorcana, and it's been great. Like, I've made a lot of friendships because of this game.
And it's so interesting because I mean, I think anybody can relate to it, because I say things like, oh, as a girl, it's as anyone. Like, it's so my dad was in town and I was like, Dad, come, we're doing a draft night, so come with me. And he's like, I'm going to be the oldest one there. But there is people his age, because it's a very cool game where it's got a lot of cross section. And even if you walk in and there's no one your age or no one that looks, I think you'd be surprised, because I mean, like I said, people showed up because they wanted to play. So, I mean, that's already, you check the first box. That doesn't exist in most social settings where everybody's there for the same reason. But yeah, my first league, I was, oh my gosh, dying. I was like, please, I can't do this. But then someone literally came up to me and said, do you want to play a game? It was my friend Alex. And I'm like, yeah. And then we're friends. We hang out all the time.
I love it. Yeah. I lost my train of thought.
No, that's okay.
Hey, so let's say, we've gone to a local game store, we've gone to league, we're kind of comfortable doing this more casual type play than competitive play. But let's say we want to take the next step and go to a DLC, Disney Lorcana Challenge, where it's a lot more competitive, or just like conventions like Gen Con or D23 or something like that. Like, how would you gear up for something like that?
Well, I will say, so not to plug my own material, but
on my episode. Away.
So I did an interview with Zach Bivens, and some of you might know him in the community as a competitive player. So I think the first thing is to do like a reality check, and to know that when you walk into these spaces, it's kind of like going to like an Olympic trial where anybody can show up, because there are people who are very good at this, and they're not accidentally good. They try really hard. They study, they practice. Like Zach was like, oh yeah, I run like 13 miles just so I have the endurance to play a game all day. Like, so people who are good at this game, I think that's important, because I think the first time I went to a tournament, I was like, oh my God, I am not good at this game. And it's really not that. I think it's just, there's different levels of commitment. And so when you go, the bigger the pawn, the bigger the setting, the more you're going to see people who, I mean, I think somebody who won DLC Leal was like a magic person. Like he's just they got a good brain on their head. I don't have a good brain on my head, but they have the kind of brain that's very good at this. The only reason I say that is because if you go into this being like, oh, it's just a room full of me's and we play a couple times a month and I'm going to go in there and I'll be in day 2. Probably not. Maybe you might be really smart and you might be really good, but I just think like reality check can help because I think sometimes learning those things on the fly can be kind of a bummer. I don't know. Have you guys ran into that? Like, have you done any of like that moment where you kind of feel like you were thrown in the deep end of the pool and you're like, whoa, you said you played My Hero. So I'm assuming that you've done some kind of cards in the past.
So My Hero was very brief. I played it for about 3 months.
Okay.
And Lorcana was announced. It was a very like complex game. I mean, but as far as the super competitive stuff, I mean, so I'm not an extrovert either, but I don't mind going into a setting and just being there. Like it doesn't make me anxious, and I'll just sit by a table by myself if nothing else, and I'll just wait for the event to start. So I'm grateful that's something that I don't struggle with. And then like when the games start, I'll go play my games or whatever, and then. One thing I will say too, like, yeah, they're super competitive people, but in my experience, just about everybody in the space is super friendly.
Yeah.
In the game, they might be like super competitive and they might be like, you might want to strangle them, but outside of the game, like everybody just wants to be helpful. They want to be kind. And, most people are like, we're Disney adults and we play card games. So as far as interacting with people, that's something that's been super pleasant.
Yeah, you will learn something. That's the good thing. I mean, any of these giant tournaments, you're going to learn come away with some knowledge. So like I said, Zach, I mean, gosh, I mean, the reason people like him is because he's so nice. Like,
nice.
So the people who are good at Lorcana, I mean, it's not I just point out that it's very rare that someone's like, oh, I'm just naturally good at this. Like I bought the cards and I won, I guess. So, I mean, they put in a lot of time and it's not something that you accidentally get good at, but I think it's worth it to do it because you're going to walk away. It's like drinking from a fire hose. You learn so much about Lorcana in these tournaments. It's like, I think of it like, I think you said you do Comic-Con in your area. So, I mean, it's like a convention, but like just for this one thing. So it's like really kind of cool that it's very rare you get a convention. And you're like, but what if we only talked about one specific thing and we did that all day? So I think for the experience, like I'm going to the Dallas one and I'm already like, oh yeah, I'm going to be done. I'm going to be toasted by like round 4, but I want to be there because it's cool. It's the term collective effervescence is one of my favorite terms. And it's like, that's that feeling when you're in these tournaments, everybody's there, everybody's excited. It's a very fun thing to do.
Well, I'm going to toot James' horn right here because for the last set championship, he and Eric from The Gamer, and like they started a team Discarded, and they were like so devoted and dedicated, and they practiced and practiced and practiced. It's like you said, people are there and they're very good at the game, and James and everybody in this group got very good, and my man right over there got himself a Stitch promo, and super awesome because we talk about this all the time. Like when we first started, we were both like newbies.
Yeah.
And I can still imagine never winning a promo like that. But this guy over here, he did it. So, I mean, that's what you're talking about. You get out of it what you put into it.
Yeah, and it's not impossible. That's the good news. Is like it's something where I mean, I my first set championship, I was like, oh, like like sometimes in anime you see like a little ghost float up from the body. That was me. I was annihilated. But then that week, like I was the Rocky montage. I was training. I did a coaching session with Zach Pivets. I'm just gonna keep plugging him, but I did that, and I got third place. I don't know if it matters if it's between third or fourth, but yeah, I ended up getting a card. Ironically, I think after that, I'm like, I don't want to ever do that again. That was so hard. So maybe you're going to learn at those tournaments that like, you're like, I don't have that dog in me. I had it. I did it. I tried it. That's hard. Because once you get done climbing that mountain, you have to do it again every 3 months. Yeah. So
starting in just a few days, actually, I've got my first 2 set champs Saturday and Sunday.
Oh man. Well, good luck.
I'm only doing 6 this time.
Only 6. Yeah. Taking it easy.
Well, actually, as soon as I win an Ursula, because I'm assuming I'm going to win an Ursula because I
Yeah.
am going to win an Ursula.
Yeah.
As soon as I do, I am not going to go to the ones that I haven't paid for. They're payday ofs. I'm not going to go to those.
Yeah.
So
it's hard. I mean, it takes a lot out of you. I
Yeah.
mean,
They're
I've
long
never,
days.
I would say it's like sports. I've never done sports, but I assume it's very similar to that.
yeah. All right. What do we have next? We have the question that we have asked every content creator who has come onto the show.
Mm-hmm.
What advice would you give to new or aspiring content creators?
Get ready to learn. You're gonna learn lots of things really fast. You're gonna learn editing. You're gonna do lots of research. It's the cameras. I know that sounds silly, but I think I overlooked that because I'm like, I have a cell phone and a voice. But to do it in a way, I think you're gonna learn, accept progress over perfection. Sometimes my husband will say, well, the lighting kind of looked bad on that video. I'm like, I'm just getting out the door. I just need to get stuff and release it. Because you can dwell in it forever because there's some content creators that have really good equipment and really very talented. To me, I would say just do it. Start. I mean, if you have a phone and you have a voice, you do have enough to get started. That's the good news. But you're going to learn a lot. Be willing to put yourself out there. You're going to send emails. People aren't going to respond. That sucks, but that's going to happen. So I would say, and be you, because I think sometimes people think they have to emulate. I think you can be inspired by people, but I mean, the coolest voices in the community, I think, are voices where they're just being themselves. And like I love the Illuminators because they're so themselves, and I love like B Squared. He's himself, and he started a whole movement of bucket hats. Although I will say I had a bucket hat many years before. So I'm not copying him, but I'm just saying that be the person you are, because I think that's what people like, is that uniqueness, that thing you care about, the Oswald, the Disneyland stuff that you do. People want to hear about that, I think, in my experience.
I love it. That's awesome.
Yep. I agree.
All right. Are we ready to talk some new cards here? Ending
Yes.
segments?
Yeah.
Yes.
Let me see if I can. You have them ready to present? Because I might be able to.
I got it. Let me just share my screen here. Okay. We are super professional here.
Oh, that's okay. Like, I mean, I literally just said content creation is a lot of like, oh God, where's that button? Today I'm like, how do you make a photo do that thing where it shifts from side to side? And I spent 30 minutes Googling it. I couldn't
All right,
find the
we're going
answer.
to start right here. Sorry to cut you off. What were you saying, Katie?
Oh, just that, I mean, sometimes you're never going to figure out. But this one you did, and I see it.
All right, so first we have here is Mickey Mouse, Enthusiastic Dancer. He's 4 cost, inkable, on Ruby, 2 strength, 4 willpower. His ability is Perfect Partners. While you have a character named Minnie Mouse in play, this character gets +2 strength, and he has 2 lore. His flavor text says he loves to share the spotlight with a star like Minnie. And I love how festive and happy they are that they beat Ursula. Like, it's just fun. I'm not sure exactly how super playable this deck's going to be, or this card, but I could see it seeing play if there's a Mickey Mini deck.
Yeah, I think I'm thinking like some kind of Mufasa deck where you have lots of Mickey and Minis in there. Maybe you could get some synergy brewing. But anytime I see something that's inkable, it's 4, it quests for 2. I'm like, okay, I'm from a limited perspective. It's a card. It's viable. I don't not like it.
That's true. Well, what do you think, James? Anything?
No.
You think anything, James?
No, I am thinking nothing.
Well, it's because the headband. It's slowly pinching right between the ears.
No, you guys said it all. It's. I mean, we'll wait and see, but it looks like it's like you said, it's pretty much a limited card, and for theme decks, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that brings us to our next card here. James, you want to take this one?
Sure. This is a 3 cost inkable Minnie Mouse Dazzling Dancer, 2/4 with 1 lore and the ability Dance Off. Whenever this character or one of your characters named Mickey Mouse challenges another character, gain 1 lore. And the flavor text is awesome. She doesn't seek the spotlight seeks her.
You gotta love the
You
Minnie
go, girl.
Mouse. I know. I will say I did get a card signed by Minnie Mouse. People can't see it on the podcast, but I did meet Minnie Mouse and I had her sign a card. If you ever can do that, it's the cutest thing. It's I'm a full-grown adult standing by herself, and it's the cutest thing to have a character see their own card. And this card, I mean, I love anything that gets extra lore, but
Right?
Yeah.
I get annoyed by niche cards sometimes because I'm like, ugh, I feel like I'm reading a contract. This one's not that bad. It's only a couple conditions, and so I love it.
Only a couple have to have a Mickey Mouse in play, and they have to challenge. That's all.
Yeah, only a couple. Just do conditions.
And how many Mickeys do we have that actually challenge things that are like, we kind of know that they're a challenging Mickey? I mean, we have like none.
No, we have the Mickey let in the bad guys. I can't remember. It's Friendly Face, I think, but it's the one where he's like, "Come on in," is how I imagine it. Money, because he escorts in the baddies.
Because he's friendly. It doesn't matter.
It's like, "Come on in, Hydra." I'm like, Mickey, come on.
All right. Have we talked about this one?
I don't remember. Let's talk about it anyway because the art's beautiful.
Katie, you want to take this one?
Yes. I mean, gosh, everybody loves a green card that talks about the number of cards in people's hands. I think that's what the people want. That's what the people demand. They're like, gosh, how can we give Emerald more power? But it's not a song, so it brings me back to that You Have Forgotten Me. Where do you guys ever do this? Where you look at an action, you're like, can I make it a song? Like, can I sing it? And then it's a song. Because then, I always sometimes I ignore actions because I'm like, if I can't sing it, it's useless to me. So I don't know. I'm not a super Emerald player, so I don't know if this is good or bad, and I'm historically very bad.
Well, for our listeners, why don't you read what this card is?
Yes. So remember who you are. Action. If a chosen opponent has more cards in their hand than you, draw cards until you have the same number. So I guess if you're playing discard, it would not behoove you to make someone discard a bunch of cards and then you can't. This isn't super beneficial. So maybe it's good. Maybe it'll help balance where people are not wanting to make you discard because then they can draw cards with this. I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts?
I don't know. It's reverting back to form for Emerald being uninkable.
Yeah.
It's really good because currently in seeing the way that the current Emerald Steel discard deck plays, they do tend to get to top decking at a certain point if they can't get their draw engine going. So a card like this would be very helpful because at that point you're usually going to be falling behind in card advantage, and this would be very helpful. But I don't know if it's worth putting in.
Yeah, it's a gamble, right? Because you're kind of hoping that I don't know. It's very conditional. And so and the fact that it's not inkable makes it where sometimes people call them like, we don't have a sideboard because you have 60 cards. But this one's not even inkable, so it makes it even scarier to put in your deck.
Yep.
All I will say is this. One of our listeners, Repo Man, he played another card game, and he said there was a card that did this exact same thing in it. And he said it was so strong that they ended up banning it. So, I may not see the utility in this, but if it was bannable in another card game, then I'm sure somebody will figure out a way to break it. But I think the fact that it's uninkable and it's not a song really tampers the power of this card.
Yeah, but it's pretty. So, that's the compliment sandwich. It's
very pretty. I agree. Okay, so next we have Stitch, who is also 4-cost uninkable. He's on steel, and this card caused a lot of commotion on Twitter from people like me because if you see here, he has a little banner that's amethyst color, but it has the steel logo. And we were like, because at first they just released this image, like, oh my gosh, is this dual inks? But no, it's just a steel Stitch. Team underdog. 1 strength, 4 willpower with the ability Heave Ho. When you play this character, you may deal 2 damage to a chosen character. 1 lore. With the flavor text, he's not the biggest glimmer on the team, but he still packs a wallop. And basically, this is like fire the cannons, but with a body.
Yeah. And I would like to point out that the artist is Karen Hallian, and this is her first card in Lorcana. And I hope we see a lot more because I love her art. I've been following her for years. She's one of those artists who have come up through like artist alleys and such at conventions and now is doing work for things like Disney and producing things at Star Wars Celebration and being a spotlighted artist at Star Wars Celebration and things like that. So it's really awesome.
Oh, and it's such a cute card. I want to be there. And I say yet because Ravensburger is tricky. Sometimes they put something in and they don't like cash in on it for a couple sets. So maybe the dual color Stitch is telling us something, we're just not ready to hear it.
Yeah. What were you saying about Stitch having a resurgence?
Yeah, right. This is his moment.
All right, now we have the reveal today. Who wants this? James, Katie?
You can take it.
All right, so it's a 7 cost, uninkable, Radigan Party Crasher, Floodboard villain. So it's a shift 4, evasive, and delightfully wicked. Your damage characters get +2. Strength, right? My brain was like, pointy spike.
I do
and
that
it quests
all
for
the time.
3. However, who is Radigan's shift target? The $1 million question. Is there a shift target? Is there
No,
a
not
baby
in
rat?
not in Ruby.
Yeah. So,
I think we're going to be getting one though.
yeah, there are sometimes where I feel like they release I always call it who's the baby, and then that's not how it works. But yeah, shift target.
Yeah.
Anything that quests for 3 is exciting, but Radigan, I don't like. I'm a villain hater, so I'm always like, I don't like villains, but that's
Hold
just
on.
a personal thing.
I got the shift target right here.
Oh god. There we go. I guess we found it. So the Emerald Ruby evasive deck is back on the menu, baby.
Yes. Also pointing out that, of course, the fabulous Nicholas Cole did the artwork on that. As always, amazing.
Yes. I mean, I say I don't like villains, but I mean, it's a cool picture. He's doing cool stuff. But I just remember as a kid just being like, oh my God, if I got fed to a giant cat, that was the scariest thing I could think of.
He's in his party clothes. Everyone's having a party, even the villains.
Yeah. And he's crashing it. So, and that's either a very small chandelier or a very large rat. But I think he's an unusually large mouse is his other card.
Yes.
I just think, and I know somebody pointed this out earlier that Milo could do this, but I mean, you can shift this guy in on turn 4 and sing "Be Prepared," or you could sing "Look at this family," in amber. Like this, I know a lot of people are down on this card because it's uninkable, but I think if he gets a proper shift target, this could be a very, very, very good card. That's my hot take.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen some people also brew up some villains decks. I mean, if you get some villain synergy or be preparing, you're being prepared for be prepared. So, and anything with evasive, I mean, is always better. It's the better of the option.
If you need to take out a bunch of stuff, you sing what is it, the Pirate's Life with this, and all of your characters get damaged, and they all get +2, and then they all can go into something with an
on your feet.
+2.
Yeah,
on your feet. There you go. Pirate's Life is the ± lore one, right?
Yeah, I think so. Well, that's it for new cards. Are we ready for some Disney Jeopardy?
I'm ready. I'm scared. I'm excited. I'm all of the above.
You know what we should do, James? Now that we have video, we should create a Jeopardy board here that has the category and then the questions for 100. Anyway,
that's for next.
So, like I said, no pressure, Katie, but I've listened to your podcast. You guys have some pretty deep cut knowledge here, so I'm expecting big things, okay?
I'm scared. Okay, I can do this.
Right, for 100, this is the name of the city in Big Hero 6.
San Francisco. What is San Francisco? Where is San Francisco?
Ding, 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 ding. Good job. Okay. For 200, these are the names of Hades' 2 minions.
Panic and Pain. I did it backwards, so it seems like I'm more cultured.
Yes. Ding, 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 ding.
Okay, who are? Oh, gosh. I guess, Ken Jennings is going to come for me, and that's okay. I'd like to meet him. So.
All right, so we're going to progressively get a little tougher here. I think this one is still kind of easy. For 300, this is the name of Donald's sister.
Della.
I'll tell you. I'll take it.
Okay.
Do you know what her full name is, though?
I haven't seen the show, but at least I picked up passive knowledge, so I feel good for that.
I don't know if this is in the show because I haven't watched it either. This is from back in the day in the comics, and I think there's a reason why they shortened it. Her name is Dumbella.
Jeez.
Dumbella.
Well, yeah. I forget. Donald Duck goes way back. They're oh yeah, the Lucky Dime's his first dime. I'm like, wow, there's a lot of duck lore, so that could be a whole podcast that somebody can do.
Okay, for 400 here. In the song Why Should I Worry, featured in Oliver and Company, 4 other famous Disney dogs make guest appearances, like in the background. Name one of them.
Okay, I've never seen that movie, but I'm just gonna say Pongo, Tramp.
All right, you got
Okay.
Pongo.
Okay.
It's Pongo, Jock, Rusty, and Peg.
Wow, I shouldn't have said the second one. I knew it. Yeah, it was Pongo. I knew the other 3.
I just watched this a couple days ago.
I haven't, but it's Billy Joel's that's tied to it,
Heck
right?
yeah.
Not Billy
Heck
Joel.
yeah.
Is it? Is it?
Yeah.
That's Billy Joel.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. I think there we go.
And
Okay, for 500. This is the original name of Pluto.
Oh, original name of Pluto.
I'm gonna say, like, as a hint. I have a hint. If you
Okay.
think for a second,
Yes.
because my hints are always the worst. I think that's kind of common knowledge. This is probably one of the most common names that it could have been from back when Pluto first premiered.
Fido? Oh God, no.
There was like three really common names, I think, that I can think of.
It was like, there's like Spike. But that was already a dog. I don't know.
There's also a dog walking app service with the same name.
Rover. Was it Rover?
There you go.
That's so crazy.
And-
See, his hints always
And-
work. Mine never do.
Well, I mean, then I just started naming every dog name. You guys are like, oh God, she won't stop. So.
And check this out. So it's featured in the 1930 cartoon The Picnic. I had to write the facts down here because I know Beth would fact check me. It's in the 1930 cartoon The Picnic, and Pluto, aka Rover, was originally Minnie Mouse's dog.
That's interesting.
Wow.
I wonder what happened. Like they're like, no, he has to. I guess it's man's best friend. Well, she gets she kind of has a cat in sometimes.
He gets the cat,
Yeah.
right?
Figaro.
Yeah, he gets Figaro.
They're like, cats are a girl animal. I don't know what happened, but I'm sure it makes sense.
Well, that was fun. Thank you, Katie, so much for joining us. Like, it was super amazing to have you on and have you share with us your experience, your knowledge. I mean, I'm a fan of your podcast, and everybody who hasn't listened to the backlog of Hakuna Lorcana, I'd recommend that you go back and check those episodes out. But also go to YouTube, go to Spotify, and subscribe to the Lorekeepers Inn. Katie, if people want to find you, how can they find you?
Well, they can find me, like you said, I'm on podcast, your app of choice, at the Lorekeepers Inn, and I'm also on YouTube. So sometimes I put some stuff that's just on YouTube. I recently did a Disneyland vlog, so you can see what it's like to spend 12 hours with me in a theme park, and it's weird. It's not weird. It's probably what you expect. And then you can find me on Twitter and Instagram, the Lorekeepers Inn. It's usually in the socials. If you find one of them, you'll find the rest. So yeah, and thank you so much for having me. This has been so exciting. I being a guest is always so fun with people like that I look up to, because I mean, you guys, like I said, if there was a Mount Rushmore, you guys would be on it. Like people who are faces in the community that have inspired people like me to make what I make. So thank you guys for having me on.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. Those are very kind words. If you liked what you heard, you can subscribe to us on YouTube. You can follow us on the podcasting platform of your choice. You can find me on the website formerly known as Twitter at Citizens of Lorcana. And James, where can they find you?
You can find me everywhere at Dan Regal, and also you can check out for just a few more weeks until Comic-Con. I am doing many live podcasts over the next couple weeks for the SD Concast, the San Diego Comic-Con unofficial blog. So check that out if you are interested in watching me talk about Comic-Con stuff. That's about it. So again, thank you, Katie, for joining us, and thank you everybody for watching and or listening, and we'll see you next time.